I'm relying on the constitutional rights. I'm not just out here willfully nilly.
You are out here willy nilly because if you
No,
were
that's not true.
following, no.
But I'm not a person. I'm a human being. I have no contract with the Secretary of State. I'm traveling. I'm not driving.
I don't have to explain anything. It's not my job to explain it.
But you said
Listen,
you did explain, but you didn't.
but I said I allowed you to explain it.
That's kind of irrelevant.
Okay.
The Supreme Court decided that a state cannot arbitrarily case the secure right to travel.
Welcome back. Guys, today's hearing is another reminder that patience really is a superpower, especially when you're a judge dealing with a sovereign citizen who thinks confidence equals correctness. This guy walks in ready to talk, argue, and lecture, fully convinced he's about to outsmart the system. And to her credit, the judge gives him plenty of room. She listens. She waits. She lets him finish. And he uses every second of that grace to absolutely bury himself. It's wild how some people show up to court like they're unlocking a hidden level in a video game, say jurisdiction enough times, and the charges just vanish. Somewhere along the line, we stopped reading actual case law and started treating Facebook threads like legal textbooks. So let's jump in and watch reality do what it does best. Hit hard.
Into a privilege, meaning we don't need license or insurance to travel throughout the land.
Okay, so this right to travel was about a welfare case, Mr. Williams, where she wanted to go to a different state, and they told her that because she didn't have established residency, in that she was going to be denied services.
Right, and that violated her.
Right, because it's talking about services. She needed to take care of her child. She was 19 and she was pregnant.
But you avoid the effects of the case. Even though that she filed a lawsuit against the state for denying her privileges, but the Supreme Court ruled that the Supreme Court ruled that can't happen because that also be violating her right to travel throughout the states,
to receive the benefits that she needs in order to take care of herself and her child.
Yes, but you're missing the argument that the Supreme Court has stated. That'll be violating her First Amendment right: life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Travel. I don't want you to miss that fact. That's what they ruled.
They said the closest the Supreme Court has come to overturning Shapiro-Thomas was in 1995 with Anderson versus Green, California Welfare and Interstate Code annotated section instituted a 1-year residency requirement for welfare aid, violating Shapiro versus Thompson. Both lower courts in California affirmed that violated Shapiro versus Thompson and granted an injunction. I'm sorry. Due to the procedural issue, California's residency requirement never went into effect, creating no justifiable controversy action and no actual issuance for the court to rule on. Whether they receive a waiver from the Secretary of Health or Human Services to set aside Shapiro versus Thompson, making the residency requirement pseudo-legal, the waiver was challenged again, and it's holding that the state court and the Secretary of HHS had not adequately considered public comment on the issues. This is about welfare. Yeah, this is about the welfare system and the ability for people. You cannot stop people from traveling. I don't see anything in here about a driver's license.
Look, the decision of the court.
Right, she has the right to go places.
Look, the court reaffirmed the right to travel under the 14th Amendment Privilege and Immunities Clause in Suez versus Roe. So they conferred it to another case. But the conclusion of the case like that would be violating her right to travel. It have something to do with the welfare, but it's violating her right to travel.
It's all about that. Because the reason why we can't prohibit her from being able to travel or to go to another state is because then they're saying once she gets to that state, she has to establish some type of residency. And what they're saying is that if she doesn't have that residency, she wouldn't get the services needed. And so they're saying you can't say, oh, you can't go to this state and not get the stuff that you need to take care of yourself and your family just because you're not. I can't stop her. I can't say you can't move to this state and then we're going to block everything. I can't do that. Right. This is not about a license.
Which will violate the right to travel.
No.
That was the decision of the court. I'm not making that up.
You aren't, but you're not understanding what their decision was based on. Yes, you have the right to travel, but this is concerning services.
So if I chose to carry a weapon, I will be bearing arms.
This is where it really starts to fall apart. His grasp of case law is so off base it's almost impressive. He name-drops Shapiro versus Thompson like it's some magic shield, completely ignoring what the case was actually about. That ruling dealt with welfare residency requirements, not driver's licenses, not traffic laws, not red lights. And yet here he is, acting like it grants him immunity on public roads. That's like saying you don't need a fishing license because the Constitution mentions commerce. The judge isn't just correcting a mistake. She's watching someone confidently rewrite legal reality in real time.
If you chose to carry a weapon in the state of in Illinois, that's an automatic. You're not allowed to carry weapons at all in the state of Illinois unless you're a law enforcement officer. So if you traveled over the state lines and you went to Illinois and you tried to carry a gun, they would tell you no.
But that's irrelevant, Your Honor. We're talking about the state of Michigan. I have a right to bear arms, but you will call it receiving
exactly.
But the Constitution of Michigan states that I can bear arms, but
because once again, and we had this conversation already, the states can make stuff more, the localities can make stuff, they can, and it's a state law anyways, but they can be harsher than the U.S. Constitution, but they can do something that would take away from the U.S. Constitution. So they're not taking away your right to bear arms. They're just putting parameters around that right.
That's kind of irrelevant.
Okay.
And like Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, say no state can convert a secure liberty into a privilege. Our secure liberty, First Amendment, is the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Mm-hmm. Right to travel throughout the United States of America. I'm relying on the constitutional rights. I'm not just out here willfully nilly, like United States versus Bishop.
But you are, because you're only taking the part that you want to be applied to you. So you are out here willy-nilly. Because if you were following, if you were following everything, you would want to follow everything and all the rules that were put into place. So all that
I'm following laws, not
following what you want to follow. And that's no. We talked about how that leads to anarchy. People can't do whatever they want to do. They say that I can follow only this. That's no. That's like me coming one day and saying, I want to practice law and I want to be a judge, and I haven't gone through any of the things to become a judge. That's not how it works.
I see how you
put it. I can't sit up here with a fake P number. They wouldn't let me do that.
I see how you put it, but that's not true. What about Title 18 USC Section 241?
Mr. Williams, do you want a trial on Monday or not? You can't argue this stuff to the jury.
Yeah, I want to go to trial, but I can't.
Okay. You can't argue this stuff to the jury. You can argue that maybe something, making sure that they didn't check the things, like you have to follow the law. I have to treat you as an attorney in that place on Monday. So I have to treat that you know how to practice and go about the way of law. And these different things, like you can't just give the jury cases and stuff like that. That's not what it's going to be about. And you'll most likely end up with objections that I'll have to sustain because it's going to be talking about the facts of these particular cases where the officers came today. Attorney Mason will make the argument for, and officers came to testify about.
What are they testifying about?
About these different stops.
Which is unlawful.
Different tickets. Okay. Well, I gave you plenty of time to write a motion about unlawful, and you did not want to.
So now we're here. I gave you affidavits stating the facts, which you needed, and
exactly. And the facts are to be argued before a jury. If they differ from these facts that on the tickets, we're here to talk about these tickets. I've already made my ruling long ago that they had the right to stop, and that these tickets are the tickets for which they wrote them for.
Yes, they have a right to stop persons, but I'm not a person. I'm a human being. I have no contract with the Secretary of State. I'm traveling. I'm not driving. I'm not in the...
At this point, it's clear this isn't simple confusion. He's taking real legal concepts and remixing them like a bad fan fiction. A Supreme Court case about welfare discrimination somehow becomes his personal excuse to drive without a license. The logic leap is Olympic level. It's less of an argument and more of a live improved show where facts are optional and confidence is mandatory. And the judge sitting there, listening patiently. Feels like someone nodding along while another person explains why the Earth is flat using YouTube diagrams. You can almost feel the restraint through the screen.
I'm not driving for gain or profit. I'm going to point A to point B, not violating nobody's rights. I'm just traveling freely, like I exercise my constitutional rights. Like Title 18 USC, Section 241. Can you look that up?
I let you have a whole hour of time to discuss all of these previously, Mr. Williams. We talked about all of these, and at the end, I made the ruling that the court did have jurisdiction and that the officers could write tickets.
You haven't explained jurisdiction.
I don't have to explain anything. It's not my job to explain it.
But you said you did explain, but you didn't.
But I said I allowed you to explain it. Do you need to pull it up on YouTube?
But the burden is on the prosecutor.
Right, not on me. I'm the court. I just call balls and strikes.
And the prosecutor cannot state how she has jurisdiction.
Okay, Attorney Mason, do you want to state how you have jurisdiction over these matters?
Statute provides us with the jurisdiction over this matter. The statutes and the laws of the court provide the jurisdiction over these matters.
That's subject.
I am empowered by the state. I am empowered by my bar card, which has been submitted to the state of Michigan. I'm empowered by the city of Detroit.
Does she still not stating? I got to object to that because she's not stating how she has jurisdiction over.
She's telling you it's by the statutes. The statutes that were given.
Statutes is not law.
Okay.
I'm obeying by the law.
So you want us to call them laws? Laws are statutes. They're the same thing. It's just a fancy way of saying laws. Statutes are just a fancy way of saying laws.
Statutes are persuasive. Laws are mandatory.
These are laws. Okay, statutes are laws. That's just a fancy way of saying laws.
Yeah, they derive from the law.
At this point, Your Honor, I'm going to
rules and regulations.
I'm going to just make a motion that these matters have already been resolved. That the court has previously stated that the trial was set forth regarding the facts of the incidents that have arisen, and that the witnesses will testify only to the facts regarding the tickets.
What are the facts?
The facts are the things on the ticket. So you have to research the law and find out exactly what each one is to show.
According to Michigan Vehicle Code 257-744A, police officers knowingly.
Okay.
I travel with a passport. My ID been canceled since 2018, so none of that is true.
Just because you cancel your ID, and this is the last argument for today, and then we're just gonna have trial on Monday. Just because you cancel your ID doesn't mean now you have the right to drive in the state of Michigan. That's not the law of this state. When you avail yourselves of the roads, the lights, the streets, the anything. Once you take part on those items, then you automatically allow yourself to issues that are taking place, any codes that are taking place. All of those now become active, whether you want them to or not.
Go ahead and drop your predictions, because if this guy actually makes it to Monday's jury trial without detonating his own case beforehand, I'll be stunned. Nothing about this suggests a win is coming, unless the jury suddenly decides that social media rants count as binding federal law. And imagine being a regular Michigan resident just trying to handle a basic traffic issue, stuck in the gallery listening to this DIY legal seminar. At that point, court should come with popcorn and hazard pay. But jokes aside, this sovereign citizen trend is getting out of control. It's not just harmless misunderstanding, it's disruption wrapped in ideology. These cases clog dockets, burn public resources, and force judges, clerks, bailiffs, and prosecutors to babysit legal fantasy while real cases wait in line. So what's the answer? Do courts need to crack down faster with fines or contempt once the YouTube law starts flying? Or is this just a new reality? Every docket comes with a built-in circus? Let me know what you think. And if you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe for more chaos, and drop a comment. I post every day, and your support keeps these breakdowns coming.